Most people don't quit their lives all at once. They leak out of them slowly. And the scary part is, nobody notices, not even themselves. It doesn't look dramatic. No slammed doors, no big announcement, no moment where they stand up and say, "That's it, I'm done." It's quieter than that. It sounds like an alarm clock going off at 6 a.m. and a hand reaching out, not in anger, not in exhaustion, just casually hitting snooze like it's no big deal. It sounds like, "I'll start tomorrow," said in a calm voice while scrolling through a phone that never runs out of things to show you. It looks like a half-finished to-do list sitting on a cluttered desk next to an empty coffee cup, the kind you grabbed on your way to work because you didn't have time to make one at home. Even though deep down, you know you had time. You just didn't use it. And that's how it begins, not with failure, but with small permissions. Little negotiations you don't even remember agreeing to. You tell yourself you're just tired today. You tell yourself you deserve a break. You tell yourself you'll do better when things calm down, when the bills aren't piling up, when work isn't so demanding, when your head feels clearer. But life doesn't really calm down, does it? There's always another bill, another email, another errand, another reason to push things just a little further. And before you realize it, those small delays start stacking up, like unopened letters on a kitchen counter, each one easy to ignore on its own. But together they become something heavy, something you don't want to deal with at all. And the strange thing is, from the outside, everything still looks fine. You're still going to work, still answering messages, still showing up to family dinners, nodding along to conversations, laughing at the right moments. Nobody pulls you aside and says, "Hey, I think you're slowly drifting away from the person you wanted to be." Because drifting doesn't make noise. It doesn't demand attention. It just happens while you're busy doing everything else. And somewhere along the way, you stop asking yourself the hard questions. You stop checking in. You stop noticing the gap, the distance between who you said you'd become and who you're actually being day to day. That gap doesn't explode overnight. It stretches quietly, like a rubber band being pulled further and further, until one day it snaps. And even then, you might not hear it. You might just feel a kind of emptiness you can't explain. Like sitting in traffic after a long day, staring at the red lights ahead, wondering how you ended up here, not just in the car, but in this version of your life. And you tell yourself it's normal. Everyone feels this way. Everyone's tired. Everyone's behind on something. And that's the most dangerous part right there. That quiet agreement with the world that says, this is just how it is. Because once you accept that, you stop fighting back. You stop pushing against the current. You start floating. And floating feels harmless at first. It even feels comfortable. No pressure, no urgency, no risk of failing because you're not really trying. But floating has a direction, whether you choose it or not. It carries you somewhere. And most of the time, it carries you away from the things that require effort, away from the conversations you've been avoiding, away from the work that actually matters, away from the version of you that you used to think about late at night when everything was quiet and honest. You remember that version, don't you? The one who had plans, not vague ideas, but real plans. The one who said, "I'm going to get in shape," and meant it. The one who said, "I'm going to build something of my own," or "I'm going to fix this part of my life." And for a moment, it felt possible. But then, life got busy. Or maybe life didn't get busier. You just got better at filling it with things that didn't require much from you. Endless scrolling while waiting in line. Watching one more episode because it's easier than sitting with your thoughts. Checking notifications that don't really matter but give you a small hit of something that feels like progress, even though it isn't. And over time, those small habits start shaping your days. Not in a loud, obvious way, but in subtle patterns. You wake up, reach for your phone, lose 20 minutes before your feet even hit the floor. You rush through breakfast, if you eat at all, grab a coffee on the way out, tell yourself you'll focus once you get to work. But then, work brings its own distractions. Meetings that could have been emails. Emails that don't really need answers. Conversations that circle around the same points without going anywhere. By the time you get home, you're drained. Not from doing meaningful work, but from being pulled in too many directions. And in that state, the last thing you want to do is something hard. So you tell yourself, tomorrow. Always tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes this magical place where everything gets fixed. Where you wake up earlier, think clearer, act faster, become better. But tomorrow has a habit of turning into today. And today looks a lot like yesterday. same patterns, same delays, same quiet promises that never quite turn into action. And here's the uncomfortable truth most people avoid. It's not that you don't know what to do, you do. It's not that you don't have time. You've got the same 24 hours as everyone else. It's not even that you're incapable. You've proven you can handle difficult things when you have to. The real issue is simpler and harder to admit. You've gotten used to choosing what's easy, not because you're weak, but because it's available. It's everywhere. It's designed to pull you in, to keep you comfortable, to make sure you never feel too much pressure, never face too much resistance. And every time you give in to that ease, even in small ways, you're reinforcing something inside yourself. You're teaching your mind that effort is optional, that discomfort is something to avoid, that you can always wait for a better moment. But that better moment doesn't exist. There's only now and what you do with it. And most of the time, what people do is negotiate. They sit there, in that small space between knowing and doing, and they start making deals with themselves. I'll start after I finish this. I'll do it when I feel more ready. I just need a little break first. And those deals feel harmless, even reasonable, but they come with a cost. Every time you delay, you're not just postponing the task, you're shaping your identity. You're becoming someone who hesitates, someone who waits, someone who needs the right conditions before taking action. And over time, that becomes your default, not because you chose it consciously, but because you practiced it. That's the part people don't like to hear. It's not one big decision that defines you. It's thousands of small ones. Quiet moments where you either move forward or stay where you are. Moments no one else sees. Moments that don't get recorded or rewarded. Just you, deciding what kind of person you're going to be, one choice at a time. And most people think they have more time than they actually do. They treat their days like there's always another one waiting, like they can afford to waste a few hours here, a few days there. But time doesn't announce when it's running out. It doesn't send reminders. It just keeps moving, steady and indifferent. And one day, you look back, not in a dramatic movie-like way, but in a quiet moment, maybe while washing dishes, maybe while sitting alone in your car, and you realize how much you've delayed, how many things you said you'd do but didn't, how many chances you let pass because you were waiting for the perfect moment that never came. And that realization, it doesn't hit like a storm. It settles in slowly, like dust. And by the time you notice it, it's already everywhere. There was a man I used to notice almost every morning, the kind of face you don't remember right away, but somehow recognize if you see it twice, like a song playing faintly in the background of a cafe you pass by every day without stepping in. He'd sit near the window, same table, same angle, like he had quietly claimed that spot without ever saying a word to anyone. Mid-30s, maybe pushing 40. Hard to tell because life had already started leaving its fingerprints on him. Nothing dramatic, just the subtle kind, like the way his shoulders curved forward a little too much, or how his eyes always looked like they were still catching up with his body. He dressed like most people rushing through the morning dew. Shirt tucked in, but not quite straight, sleeves uneven, like he buttoned it while thinking about something else. There was always a laptop in front of him, always open, always glowing. But if you paid attention long enough, you'd notice something strange. He wasn't really working. Not in the way people work when something matters. His fingers hovered more than they moved. The screen changed often, but not with progress. Tabs opened, tabs closed. A document sat there untouched while his attention drifted somewhere else, pulled by things that didn't require much from him. He'd take a sip of coffee, stare out the window at the traffic crawling past, then glance back at the screen like it had disappointed him somehow. And maybe it had, or maybe he had disappointed himself, but either way, there was this quiet tension in the air around him, like a conversation that kept starting and stopping inside his head. You could almost hear it if you sat close enough. Not the words exactly, but the rhythm of hesitation, the back and forth that never quite reached a decision. I should start now, followed by, maybe in a minute. This needs to get done, followed by, let me just check one thing first. And that one thing always led to another, like stepping stones across a river that never actually takes you to the other side. I remember one particular morning, the kind where the city feels heavier than usual, like everyone's carrying something they don't talk about. The line at the counter was longer, people tapping their phones, checking the time, shifting their weight from one foot to the other like impatience had become a habit. He was already there, already seated, already in that quiet battle with himself. His phone buzzed on the table, and he picked it up quickly, almost eagerly, like it had given him an excuse to pause. He read the message, typed something back, then lingered there, thumb hovering over the screen. Not because there was more to say, but because going back to the work felt heavier than staying in that small, easy distraction. And I've seen that look before, not just in him, in coworkers and friends, in myself on days I don't like to admit. It's not laziness, it's something more subtle. It's the habit of delay dressed up as reason. A few minutes later, his laptop chimed, probably a reminder or a notification, and he leaned back in his chair, exhaled slowly, like the sound itself might buy him a little more time. Then he leaned forward again, placed his hands on the keyboard, and for a brief moment, it looked like he was about to begin. You could feel it, that shift, that tiny spark where intention turns into action. But then, just as quickly, it faded. His hands stopped. He glanced at the clock on the wall, then back at the screen, then out the window again, as if the right moment was out there somewhere in the traffic, waiting to arrive. It never did. Instead, he reached for his coffee, took a longer sip this time, and you could almost see the decision forming. Not to quit, not to give up, just to postpone. Again, that's how it works most of the time. Not a clear choice, but a quiet drift toward what feels easier in the moment. And the thing is, he wasn't unaware of it. You could tell by the way his jaw tightened slightly, the way his foot tapped under the table, a small, restless movement that betrayed the calm surface. Part of him knew he was stalling. Part of him didn't like it. But knowing and doing, those are two different worlds, separated by a gap that feels small until you try to cross it. At some point, his phone rang, and this time he answered. "Yeah, I'm on it," he said, voice steady, practiced, like he'd said those words before. "Just organizing a few things first, then I'll dive in." There it was again, that promise of starting, always just around the corner. He listened for a moment, nodded even though the person on the other end couldn't see him, then added, "I'll have something by the afternoon." After he hung up, he sat still for a few seconds, staring at the screen, as if the weight of that commitment had finally pinned him down. For a brief moment, it looked different, more serious, more real. And maybe, in that moment, he believed it himself. But belief alone doesn't move your hands. It doesn't open the file, doesn't write the first line, doesn't make the call you've been avoiding. Action does that. And action requires something most people keep postponing: discomfort. Instead, he adjusted his chair, cracked his neck, opened a new tab, and searched for something unrelated. It didn't matter what: news, videos, messages, anything that kept him in motion without moving forward. And that's the trap right there. You stay busy enough to feel like you're doing something, but not focused enough to actually change anything. Hours can pass like that, quietly slipping through your fingers while you convince yourself you're getting ready. And the world around you doesn't stop. People come and go, coffee machines hiss, doors open and close, conversations rise and fall like waves. Life keeps moving at full speed, and you're sitting there, just slightly out of sync with it, like a clock that's off by a few minutes, but still looks like it's working fine. By the time the afternoon comes, the light shifts through the window, stretching longer across the floor. And there's this subtle pressure that creeps in, the kind you don't talk about, but you feel it in your chest. The deadline he mentioned on the phone, it's closer now. The work he said he'd start, still untouched. And now the excuses start changing shape. In the morning it was, "I'll start soon." In the afternoon it becomes, "I've already wasted too much time. I'll just do it properly tomorrow." Same delay, different language. And just like that, another day folds in on itself. Not with a bang, not with failure, just with quiet avoidance dressed up as a plan. He closed his laptop slowly, like he didn't want to admit what the day had become. Packed his things, stood up, and walked out into the same busy street he'd been watching all morning. From the outside, he looked like anyone else heading home after a long day. No one could tell the difference between a day spent building something and a day spent avoiding it. And that's the part that makes it so easy to repeat, because there's no immediate consequence, no alarm that goes off saying, "You're drifting." Just another evening, another chance to say, "Tomorrow will be different." And maybe he believed that, maybe he still does. But I've learned something watching people like him, and if I'm being honest, watching parts of myself too. It's not the big decisions that shape your life. It's what you do in those small, quiet moments when no one's watching, when there's no pressure forcing your hand, when you have the option to move or to wait. And most people, they wait, not because they don't care, but because they've gotten used to negotiating with themselves. And negotiation feels harmless. It feels reasonable. It feels like you're still in control. But over time, it becomes a pattern. And patterns, they don't just stay in one part of your life. They spread. That hesitation at the cafe shows up at work, then in relationships, then in the way you handle problems, in the way you face opportunities. You start to approach everything with that same quiet question. Do I have to do this now? And if the answer isn't a firm yes, you push it. Just a little. Just enough to feel relief in the moment. But that relief comes with a cost, one you don't notice right away. It builds slowly, like interest on a debt you forgot you had. And one day, you wake up and realize you're not where you thought you'd be. Not because something went wrong, but because you kept choosing not to move when it mattered. And the hardest part? There's no one else to blame. No clear moment you can point to and say, that's where it all fell apart. Just a series of small delays, stacked so neatly you almost mistake them for normal life. What most people don't realize, what that man at the cafe probably didn't realize either, is that none of this is accidental. None of it is random. And it's definitely not just about discipline, the way people like to throw that word around like it's some switch you can flip on a Monday morning. There's something deeper running underneath all of it, something quieter, older, more patient than your plans and your deadlines. Your brain isn't sitting there waiting for you to become better. It's not cheering you on when you set goals or make promises to yourself at night when everything feels clear and possible. It's doing something else entirely. It's protecting you, not in the way you might expect, not like a coach pushing you to grow, but like an overcautious guard whose only job is to keep things stable, predictable, and most importantly, comfortable. And comfort, in the world we're living in now, is easier to access than ever before. You don't have to earn it anymore. It's built into your pocket, glowing on your screen, waiting for the slightest hint of boredom or discomfort to pull you in. A few seconds of silence, you reach for your phone. A task feels a little too heavy, you open another tab. That moment when you're about to start something difficult, really start, not just think about starting. And there's that tiny resistance in your chest. That's when your brain steps in, not loudly, not aggressively, but gently, almost kindly, offering you an alternative. Maybe later, just take a quick break. You've got time, and it feels reasonable. That's the trick. It never feels like sabotage. It feels like self-care, like pacing yourself, like being smart about your energy. But if you watch closely, really closely, you'll start to see the pattern. Those quick breaks stretch longer than you planned. Those later moments keep getting pushed further away. And the task itself? It doesn't get easier. In fact, it starts to feel heavier, more intimidating, like something you need even more energy to face. That's not a coincidence. That's conditioning. Every time you choose the easy option, every time you trade effort for comfort, your brain takes note. It logs that decision, stores it, builds a case. Not against you, but against effort itself. It starts to associate hard things with something to avoid, something unnecessary, something that can always be postponed without real consequence. And at the same time, it starts to associate easy things, scrolling, snacking, checking notifications, with reward. Small, immediate, effortless reward. And over time, that balance shifts. Not dramatically, not overnight, but gradually, like a scale tipping one grain at a time. Until one day, you sit down to do something that actually matters, something that requires focus, patience, maybe even a bit of discomfort, and it feels wrong. Not because it is, but because your brain has been trained to expect something else, something quicker, something lighter, something that gives you that small hit of satisfaction without asking much in return. And when it doesn't get that, it reacts, not with logic, but with resistance. You feel it as restlessness, as the urge to check your phone, to stand up, to do literally anything else. You tell yourself you can't focus today, that you're just not in the right mindset. But the truth is, your brain is doing exactly what it's been trained to do. It's avoiding what feels uncomfortable and reaching for what feels easy. And here's where it gets interesting, because most people think the problem is that they need more motivation, more inspiration, something to push them into action. But motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like weather. Some days you wake up with it, most days you don't. And if you've built your habits around waiting for that feeling, you're going to spend a lot of time waiting. The real issue isn't the lack of motivation. It's the environment you've created inside your own head. It's the constant supply of easy rewards that have lowered your tolerance for effort. Think about it like this. If you eat fast food every day, real, simple meals start to taste bland. Not because they are, but because your palate has been overstimulated. The same thing happens with your mind. When you flood it with quick, effortless dopamine, endless scrolling, constant notifications, instant entertainment, you raise the threshold for what feels rewarding. So when you sit down to do something meaningful, something that pays off in the long run but doesn't give you immediate feedback, your brain rejects it. It feels like punishment. And that's exactly what that man at the cafe was dealing with, even if he couldn't name it. It wasn't just that he didn't want to work. It's that the work couldn't compete with everything else he had trained himself to enjoy. The silence of focusing on a task couldn't compete with the noise of the world in his pocket. The slow progress of real effort couldn't compete with the instant gratification of distraction. So he stayed stuck in that loop, not because he lacked ambition, but because his brain had been rewired, piece by piece, to prefer ease over effort. And the longer that pattern continues, the stronger it becomes. Neural pathways don't care about your goals. They care about repetition. What you do consistently shapes what feels natural. So if you consistently avoid hard things, avoidance becomes your default. Not a choice you consciously make, but a reflex. You sit down, you feel resistance, and before you even realize it, you're reaching for something easier. It happens so fast you barely notice it. And that's the part that surprises people when they finally step back and look at their lives. They think they're making decisions, but most of the time, they're just following patterns. Patterns built from hundreds, maybe thousands of small moments where they chose comfort over effort. And once you see that, once you really understand it, something shifts. Because now it's not about blaming yourself or calling yourself lazy or undisciplined. It's about recognizing the system you've been running, a system that rewards ease and punishes effort, not intentionally, but effectively. And the man at the cafe, he wasn't broken. He was just operating within that system, the same way most people are. The difference is, some people start to notice it. They catch that moment when their hand reaches for the phone instead of the work. They feel that hesitation and realize it's not a sign to stop, but a signal of exactly where they need to go. Because here's the twist that most people miss. That resistance you feel, that discomfort, that urge to avoid, that little voice telling you not now, it's not a warning to stay away. It's a marker. It's pointing directly at the thing that matters, the thing that could move you forward if you actually faced it. But because your brain has been trained to avoid discomfort, it interprets that signal as danger instead of direction. So you turn away again and again, reinforcing the pattern, deepening the groove, making it easier to repeat the next time, until eventually, it doesn't even feel like a choice anymore. It just feels like who you are. And that's where most people stop. They accept it. They say, that's just how I am, without realizing that how I am is something they've been practicing, not something they were born with. And the moment you see that clearly, not intellectually, but in a real, grounded way, you start to understand that the problem isn't out there. It's not your schedule, not your job, not the timing. It's the way your brain has been trained to respond to effort and reward. And if it was trained one way, it can be trained another. But that requires something most people have been avoiding for a long time. Stepping into discomfort without negotiating, without waiting for the perfect moment, without asking for permission from a part of your mind that was never designed to help you grow. It was designed to keep you safe. And sometimes, safe is the very thing that keeps you stuck. There's a certain kind of silence that only shows up when a person finally runs out of excuses. And it's not loud, not dramatic. It doesn't come with some cinematic breakdown where everything falls apart at once. It comes in small moments, almost forgettable if you're not paying attention. Like standing in your kitchen late at night with the fridge door open. Not even hungry, just avoiding something you can't quite name. Or sitting in your car after work, engine already off, hands still on the steering wheel, staring straight ahead while the world keeps moving around you. People walking past, headlights sliding across the windshield. And for a second, Just a second, you feel it. That quiet weight settling in your chest. The kind that doesn't panic you, doesn't rush you, just sits there like it's been waiting for you to finally notice it. And in that moment, there's no distraction strong enough to cover it up. No scrolling, no background noise, no quick fix to push it aside. Because deep down, you know exactly what it is. It's the accumulation, not of failure in the dramatic sense, but of all the times you didn't move when you could have. All the moments you chose delay over action, comfort over effort, silence over honesty. It's subtle, but it builds, layer by layer, like dust collecting on something you once used every day, but slowly stopped touching. And the hardest part is, no one else can see it. From the outside, your life might still look fine. You're still showing up, still doing what's expected, still playing your role well enough that no one questions it. But inside, there's this growing gap, and you feel it most in these quiet moments, when there's nothing left to hide behind. That man from the cafe, I imagine he had a moment like that. Maybe not in the cafe itself, maybe not even during the day, but later, when the noise died down, when the phone battery dipped low and the world stopped demanding his attention for a while. Maybe he got home, dropped his keys on the table, loosened his collar, and just stood there for a second longer than usual, like his body wasn't quite ready to move on to the next thing. Maybe he looked around his apartment, not really seeing the furniture or the walls, but feeling the stillness, the kind that doesn't comfort you, just reflects you back to yourself. And that's when it hits, not as a clear thought, but as a realization that doesn't need words. That today looked a lot like yesterday, and yesterday looked a lot like the day before. And if nothing changes, tomorrow will look the same too. There's something unsettling about that kind of repetition, not because routine is bad, but because this isn't intentional routine, it's drift. It's the kind of pattern you fall into without deciding, without choosing, just following the path of least resistance until it becomes the only path you know. And standing there in that quiet space, there's no one to blame. Not your boss, not your schedule, not the city or the traffic or the endless stream of responsibilities. Just you, and the choices you made when no one was watching. That's a hard thing to sit with. Most people don't. They reach for something, anything, to break that silence. Turn on the TV, pick up the phone, open a bottle, start a conversation that doesn't go anywhere, just to avoid that moment of clarity. Because clarity, real clarity, doesn't always feel good. It doesn't come wrapped in motivation or excitement. It comes with a kind of heaviness, like realizing you've been walking in the wrong direction for a while, and now you have to decide whether to turn around or keep going just because it's familiar. And turning around, that's not easy. It means facing the discomfort you've been avoiding, not just once, but over and over again. It means doing things that don't feel natural anymore, because you've trained yourself to avoid them. It means sitting down to work when every part of you is telling you to wait. It means making that call you've been putting off, saying the thing you've been rehearsing in your head, but never actually saying out loud. It means choosing effort in moments where comfort is right there, within reach, asking nothing from you. And in those early moments, it doesn't feel empowering. It feels awkward, forced, even a little pointless, like doing one push-up after weeks of doing nothing. It doesn't look like progress. It doesn't feel like change. But there's something important happening underneath that most people don't see, because they quit before they feel it. You're breaking a pattern, not in a dramatic overnight way, but in a small, almost invisible shift. You're interrupting that automatic response, that reflex to avoid, to delay, to negotiate. And that interruption, as small as it is, creates space. Space for a different choice. Space for a different version of you to step in, even if just for a moment. And that moment matters more than people think, because it's not about how big the action is. It's about what it represents. It's proof. Proof that you can act without waiting. Proof that you're not completely controlled by those patterns you've built. And the first time you do it, it feels strange. The second time, still uncomfortable. The third time, maybe a little less resistance. Not gone, but quieter. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, something begins to shift. The gap doesn't close all at once, but it stops widening. And that alone is a kind of relief. You're no longer drifting further away. You're holding your ground. And in those quiet moments, the ones that used to feel heavy, you start to notice a different kind of feeling creeping in. Not pride, not excitement, just steadiness. like your feet are finally on solid ground after walking on something unstable for too long. And it doesn't come from doing something big, it comes from doing something honest. One task you didn't avoid, one decision you didn't postpone, one moment where you didn't negotiate. And that's where it deepens, where it becomes more than just a change in behavior. It becomes a change in how you see yourself. Because up until that point, your identity was shaped by those small delays, those quiet hesitations. You saw yourself as someone who waits, someone who needs the right conditions, someone who starts but doesn't always follow through. But now, even in a small way, that image starts to crack. You've done something that doesn't fit the old pattern. And once that crack appears, it's hard to ignore. You can't fully go back to not knowing. You can't completely convince yourself that you're stuck, because you've already proven, even if just once, that you're not. And that's where things get interesting, because now the struggle isn't just between comfort and effort. It's between two versions of you. The one you've been practicing for years, and the one you've just started to glimpse. And they don't fight loudly. It's subtle. The old version still shows up, still offers the same familiar lines. Later, not today. You've done enough. But now, there's another voice, quieter but steadier, saying, just start. No long speech, no motivation, just a simple push toward action. And the more you listen to that second voice, the stronger it becomes. Not because it's louder, but because it's backed by experience, by proof, by those small moments where you chose differently. And over time, those moments stack up, not in a way that transforms your life overnight, but in a way that changes your direction. You're no longer standing still or drifting. You're moving, even if it's slow, even if it's messy. And in those same quiet spaces, the kitchen at night, the car after work, the early morning before the world wakes up, you start to feel something different. The silence isn't as heavy anymore. It's still there, but it doesn't press down on you the same way. It feels more like space than weight. Space to think, to choose, to act. And that's something most people don't talk about. They focus on the big wins, the visible changes, the outcomes you can point to and measure. But the real shift happens here, in these quiet, almost invisible moments where you stop running from yourself and start facing things as they are. It's not glamorous, it doesn't look impressive from the outside, but it's real, and it's where everything else begins. And after a while, you start to understand something that most people spend years circling around without ever quite landing on it. Not because it's hidden, but because it's too simple to feel important at first. You don't need a complete overhaul of your life to change your direction. You don't need some perfect plan mapped out down to the last detail. You don't need to wait until everything lines up. The truth is, most of the time, it comes down to one small decision made at the right moment. And the right moment isn't some rare, perfect window that opens once in a while. It's the moment right in front of you, the one you usually pass over without thinking, the one where you feel that slight resistance and instinctively step back instead of forward. And if you've been paying attention, really paying attention, you start to see how often that moment shows up throughout a normal day, not in big, dramatic ways, but in quiet, almost forgettable choices. It's there when the alarm goes off and your hand hovers between snooze and getting up. It's there when you sit down at your desk and decide whether to open the file you've been avoiding or check something else first. It's there when you think about making a call you've been putting off or having a conversation you know won't be comfortable. These moments don't announce themselves as turning points, but they are. They're the exact places where your life either stays the same or starts to shift, 1 inch at a time. And the reason most people miss them is because they're waiting for something bigger, something that feels more significant, more convincing, like a surge of motivation or a sudden burst of clarity that makes everything easy. But that kind of moment is unreliable. It shows up when it wants, and it leaves just as quickly. What stays, what's always there, is that small space between impulse and action, between what's easy and what's necessary. And learning to recognize that space, to sit in it for just a second longer instead of reacting automatically. That's where things begin to change. Because once you see it, once you catch yourself in that exact moment where you would normally delay, you're given a choice. Not a comfortable one, not an easy one, but a clear one. You can follow the pattern you've been repeating, or you can interrupt it. And that interruption doesn't need to be dramatic. It doesn't require some huge act of discipline. Sometimes it's as simple as starting before you feel ready. Opening the document, standing up instead of lying back down, saying the first sentence of a conversation you've been rehearsing in your head for days. Small actions, almost insignificant on their own, but they carry weight because of when they happen. They happen at the point where you would normally choose not to act, and that's what gives them power. Over time, as you repeat that choice, something shifts in a way that's hard to notice day by day, but impossible to ignore in hindsight. You begin to trust yourself a little more, not in a loud, confident way, but in a quiet, steady sense that when you say you're going to do something, there's a good chance you actually will. And that kind of trust, it changes how you move through the world. You stop overthinking every step because you're not relying on perfect conditions anymore. You're relying on action. You understand that things don't need to feel right before you begin. They start to feel right because you began. And that's a subtle but important difference. It takes the pressure off waiting for the perfect mindset and puts it back where it belongs, on what you do next. And the more you operate from that place, the less control those old patterns have over you. They don't disappear completely. They still show up, still offer you the familiar path of least resistance, but they lose their authority. They become suggestions instead of commands. And that's where a kind of freedom starts to appear. Not the kind that comes from having no responsibilities or no challenges, but the kind that comes from knowing you can face those challenges without automatically backing away. It's a grounded kind of freedom, built from repeated proof, not from ideas or intentions. And if you look back at that man from the cafe, you start to see him differently too. Maybe he's still there some mornings. Maybe he still has days where he slips back into old habits, because that's part of it. No one just flips a switch and becomes consistent forever. But maybe, just maybe, there are moments now where he catches himself before drifting too far. Moments where he notices that familiar hesitation and decides, quietly, to move anyway. Not because he feels like it, not because he's suddenly more motivated, but because he understands something he didn't before, that waiting hasn't been helping him. And action, even small, imperfect action, is the only thing that's ever changed anything. And that understanding, once it settles in, doesn't need constant reinforcement. It stays with you in those everyday situations, guiding you in a way that feels less like forcing yourself and more like choosing differently. You start to see discomfort not as something to avoid, but as a signal that you're close to something that matters. You stop asking, "Do I feel ready?" and start asking, "What happens if I just begin?" And that question, simple as it is, opens doors that have been sitting there the whole time, waiting for you to stop standing outside. So, if you're sitting somewhere right now, maybe at a desk, maybe on your bed, maybe in your car between one obligation and the next, and you can feel that familiar pull to wait, to delay, to push things just a little further into the future, take a second and notice it. Don't rush past it. Don't cover it up. Just recognize it for what it is, a moment, a small one, but a real one. And then ask yourself, not in a dramatic, life-changing way, but in a quiet, honest tone, what's the one thing in front of me that I've been avoiding? Even just a little. Not everything, not the entire list, just one thing. And what would it look like to start it now, without making it perfect, without planning it out, without waiting for a better mood? Just starting. Because that's where this whole thing turns, not in some distant future version of your life, but right here, in these small, ordinary moments that don't seem important until you realize they've been shaping everything. And if you're willing to explore that, to keep noticing those moments and choosing to step into them instead of away, then stay with me. There's more to unpack, more to understand, and more importantly, more to practice. Not perfectly, not all at once, but consistently enough that over time, you start to recognize yourself in a different way. Not as someone who waits, but as someone who moves.